Kalegi, Bloomberg 1130. Bloomberg Business Week continues.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130. To Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 99.1. To Boston, Bloomberg 1061. To San Francisco, Bloomberg 960. To the country, Sirius XM Channel 119. And around the globe, the Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
Gotta say, it's been a crazy week. We are so looking forward to our next guest. It's also going to give you some ideas on maybe something you might want to watch this weekend.
Yeah, Sunday, March 6th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time to be specific. Jim Hecht is going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes. He's the co-creator, writer, and executive producer of the new HBO series, Winning Time. Looking forward to that conversation.
All right, we'll get to it in just a moment. First up, though, back to how the week ended up. The day ended up. Here is Charlie Pellet.
I think very much we'll call this losing time because the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ not only down today, but for the week as well. The weekly numbers, your S&P 500 index this week down 1.3%. The Dow down 4 weeks in a row, down 1.3%. NASDAQ particularly hard hit this week, down 2.8%. Today's numbers, S&P fell 34 points, down 0.8%. The Dow down 180 today, down 224, down 1.7%. Stocks fell, the dollar climbed with bonds as concerns that war risks are intensifying roiled global markets. Oil topped $115 a barrel. 10-year yield 1.74%. Spot gold up 1.7% at $19.68 the ounce on spot gold. Well, as for the market backdrop, Doug Sioka is with Kavar Capital. He was our guest right here on Bloomberg Business Week.
There's this old investment adage related to armed conflict, right? And it goes like this, right? Buy on the cannons and sell on the trumpets. And basically, when ambiguity is high and sentiment is low, prices tend to go down and they offer interesting entry points.
Apple has set an April 11th deadline for its corporate employees to return to in-person work, marking a key test of whether the tech giant could reestablish office life in the Zoom era. Apple shares down today by 1.8%. Sources tell Bloomberg Alphabet's YouTube is reaching out to podcasters and podcast networks, offering grants of up to $300,000 to entice them to create video versions of their own shows. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. Well, March Madness, it is just around the corner. And along those lines, if you're looking for something to watch perhaps this weekend, then you may want to check out Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty, which premieres on HBO. Here's a little bit of a taste of it.
I don't care who you are. If you're a human being with two eyes and a heart, this game, this industry, makes you feel good.
What industry? Sweat socks?
No, show business.
All right, folks, that is the new limited series tracking the creation of the LA Lakers dynasty and the rise in the 1980s of the team. It's based on the 2014 book Showtime Magic, Kareem Riley, and the Los Angeles Lakers dynasty of the 80s. That was by author Jeff Pearlman. Lucky for us, we have Jim Hecht. He's co-creator, writer, and executive producer of the series. He joins us via Zoom from Los Angeles. Jim, so nice to have you here with us. You got to talk to us. First of all, I like your mode for those watching on YouTube. Nice and relaxed, nice and chill after what's been a
lot of
crazy
sports
week.
memorabilia.
Lots of sports memorabilia. Take us back. You as a kid used to hang around the arena. You loved this team. What was it about them that you just loved?
Well, I mean, look, I was 6 when Magic Johnson came to Los Angeles. I stood online at the Westminster Mall for 2.5 hours to get this autograph. And so, you know, it's hard to say which came first. And my dad was a huge sports fanatic. It probably actually broke up my parents' marriage. And so one of the things that really we shared as when I was a kid was the fanaticism for sports and for the Lakers once, you know, Magic came to town. And so for me, it was like a definitive moment in my childhood, the beginning of Showtime, Magic coming. We went to the USC football game, and Dr. Buss brought Magic to the game, and he was on the sidelines, and the place just went nuts. You know, he had just played in that college national championship. So for me, I was like, you know, this is one of the most special times in my life. You know, at the time before life gets that complicated when you're little, and so finding the book, you know, transported me back into that time period, and I wanted to be able to just, you know, bring it alive for other people as well, to kind of share what I loved about it.
Well, on YouTube, we're just showing some clips from the trailer right now, so it's really kind of fun to see.
Jim, take us back to the time that you were able to actually get your hands on the book and the transformation that it went from a book to Winning Time.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing came about because I was in a really bad part of my life. Like, it was a really dark time. I was like going through a horrible breakup. My career was not doing well. I was super depressed. And so I took up like meditation, not to sound too LA, but like I just was desperate. And in the, you know, early experimenting with that, like I had this thought, like you need to stop trying to write stuff that you think other people would want to see and only do the show that you would want to see. And it was the very next day I heard about Jeff's book on the radio, and I stood in line. I was at Book Soup at 9 o'clock in the morning when the doors opened to buy it when the book came out, the first day it was out, and then I read it, you know, by 11, and I called my agent and was like, I want to do like Friday Night Lights with the Lakers in the 80s, and he was like, Jim, this is the thing that's going to be written on your gravestone. So
I love that.
I'm not looking forward to any gravestones, but so I flew across country. I showed up. This is 2014, Easter Sunday 2014. I showed up on Jeff's doorstep in New Rochelle with a tomato, a block of chocolate, and a bottle of non-alcoholic wine. And because he had some stuff optioned and nothing ever came out of it, had zero expectations, you know, I was like, yeah, sure, take a shot at it, whatever. And he said, you know, as soon as the door closed, he turned to his wife and they were like, nothing's ever going to come out of that. And for a while, nothing did. We got a lot of no's. People were like, you'll never be able to cast magic and Kareem, you know. And,
but you did. What was some of the, we've got about a minute and then we'll do some news and come back. But no, we've got about a minute. What went into the thinking of how you had to cast them? Because you're not going to necessarily get, you know, these are iconic players, iconic individuals.
Yeah, I mean, everybody said it was impossible. Where are you going to find a guy who's 6'9", 7 foot that can play basketball and also act on a level that they'll be, you know, capable of being in a premier HBO drama? And Francine Maisler, our casting director, did an open call. She found those two guys. The second we saw magic on the tape, they're like, that's him. You see the camera. I'm sorry, you see the smile, and you're like, that's the guy. And then in Solomon Hughes, who plays Kareem, we found a PhD, you know, who's a professor who can capture that intellectual, internal, you know, world of Kareem, and had no acting experience. He was like a natural and just gets better and better. And the guy's an amazing actor. You know, it's just watching genius talents at work because they have no background. And they're incredible. I stake my reputation on their performances.
Well, really fun. We're going to continue with you, Jim. Hang on for a second. Like I said, we have to do a little bit of news, but we'll come back. We are talking with Jim Hecht. He's co-creator, writer, and executive producer of the HBO series Winning Time, which will premiere this Sunday, March 6th at 9 p.m. Eastern on HBO, streaming on HBO Max. So we'll continue with him and talk a little bit more about the series.
10 episodes is the limited series. First, though, let's get a check of the latest world and national news. Standing by in Washington, D.C. is Nancy Lyons. Hey, Nancy.
Thanks, Jim. Safety has been ensured at a nuclear power plant in Ukraine that came under fire last night by Russian missiles. But the 40-mile Russian convoy near Kyiv still worries residents. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby says the convoy has stalled, and while it has been slowed by Ukrainian interference, he says Russian troops are also suffering from their own mistakes.
They're running out of fuel. We still believe that in some cases they're running out of food for their soldiers. So they've also been plagued by their own missteps and stumbles.
Kirby says the attack on the nuclear power plant last night was exceedingly dangerous. President Biden is celebrating the substantial increase in job creation last month by signing an executive order he says will create still more jobs in manufacturing.
The President strengthened rules to ensure that government agencies buy goods made in America.
If we're identifying some product that is so critical to our national security, health, or resilience, that we're going to create rules that allow us to pay a little more for them if they're made in America. Semiconductors, some pharmaceutical agreements, advanced batteries, among other things. It's worth it.
The President brought in another chief executive, Barbara Humpton of Siemens, who announced expansion of plants that make electrical equipment and construction of a new one to produce electric car chargers. In Washington, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
The Supreme Court is reinstating the death sentence for convicted Boston Marathon bomber Johar Tsarnaev. The justices, by a 6-3 vote, agreed with the Biden administration's arguments that it was wrong for an appeals court to throw out the death sentence that was imposed on Tsarnaev for his role in the bombing that killed 3. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries.
All right, Ann, thank you so much. We are talking with Jim Hecht. He's co-creator, writer, and executive producer of the HBO series that makes its debut on this Sunday, Winning Time. He is with us via Zoom from L.A. Hey, Jim, just got about a couple of minutes, and then we'll do some more news and come back. But, hey, take us back as a fan of the L.A. Lakers. Is there a game that you remember, a moment in time watching them play that just really stands out for you?
Yeah, it's so funny because it's probably the bad moments that I remember the most. Like when they lost to the Celtics in Game 7 of the '84 Finals. I don't want to spoil this stuff, but you can look it up online and find out if they won or lost. So, like, yeah, I cried my eyes out at that. My dad took me to the finals in '83, and they got swept by the Sixers. And those are the ones, probably, unfortunately, I remember the most. Those are the ones that stand out. You know, even with all the wins, it's the losses that stick with you. And I've talked to some of the players and stuff. They say the same thing. Jim, always remember the losses more.
I'm wondering if you go back to your childhood, about watching him in person, you think about watching him on TV, and I'm wondering when you were shooting this and actually going back and looking at that footage, if any of your memories were kind of very different from what that ended up being.
Surprisingly, I did not remember what it was like to watch Magic Johnson play basketball. And when I went back on YouTube, I was like, well, you know, and probably a lot of people under 30 have never seen him play. And it's like, it's incredible what he does with the ball. Sometimes you can't even, figure out what he did with the ball to get there. And so that was like way better than I thought it was. But like, to me, it was the best moment of the whole thing was walking onto the forum floor that we built and seeing the guys in the uniforms and Dr. Buss and the Lakers girls. It was like not only just walking into my childhood, but like walking into my childhood fantasy was the weird, incredible moment.
Well, it's pretty incredible, and we want to hear a little bit more about the making of it and how it all played out. We're going to come back to you in just a moment. We are talking with Jim Hecht. He's co-creator, writer, and executive producer of the HBO series Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. It does premiere on HBO on Sunday, March 6th at 9 p.m. Eastern on HBO and also streaming on HBO Max. We'll get back to you in just a moment. I'm Carol Master, along with my co-host Tim Stanovic. This is Bloomberg.
The Tri-State Business Report is brought to you by Audi. Don't let someone else drive off in the Audi model you've always wanted. Visit a Tri-State Audi dealer to get behind the wheel of yours today.
A fresh perspective on the business week.
Look at Ukraine. Is it going to have a long-lasting effect, you think, on the markets?
And a deep dive into market trends and news.
When the week ended, it was that inflation story that drove the markets.
Join David Weston every weekend for Bloomberg Wall Street Week.
What do you think the economic implications of this geopolitical crisis could be?
Friday nights at 6.
How much political risk comes with Chinese investments these days?
On Bloomberg 1130, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. This is a Bloomberg Tri-State Business Report. Amazon.com workers at a second facility in New York won approval for a union election. The Amazon labor unions gathered enough signatures from workers at the LDJ5 warehouse in Staten Island to proceed with a vote, according to a National Labor Relations Board spokesperson. Workers at the Manhattan location of outdoor sporting goods chain REI voted to join a union, a first for that company. By an 86% majority, employees voted to join the Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union. The REI union follows employees of a handful of stores owned by Starbucks. Governor Phil Murphy is including property tax relief checks in the annual spending plan he'll introduce next week. With an average of $700 planned for New Jersey homeowners, making up to $250,000. Renters would get about $250. Murphy's proposal would apply to 1.8 million residents. That's your Bloomberg Tri-State Business Report. I'm Ed Corey.
The Audi Q5 represents everything we've learned from building one of the world's most progressive vehicles. With forward-thinking technology like standard rear cross traffic assist, this car was born to non-conform. The Audi Q5 is here. Progress is never blending in.
Don't let someone else drive off in the Audi model you've always wanted. Visit your tri-state area Audi dealer to get behind the wheel of yours today, or visit AudiOffers.com for more information.
It's 4:45 on Wall Street. Time for Drive Time Traffic. We do it every 15 minutes right here on Bloomberg Radio. Ed Kalegi, Garden State Parkway. What's going on?
3 issues on the Garden State Parkway right now, Tim. The first one southbound, an accident at 168. Delays coming down from 171. Now the second one is a broken down car southbound at 148 at Bloomfield. Looks like a heavy ride down to the Essex tolls. The worst is the third. That's an accident down in Tom's River at exit 83. One lane is blocked. Southbound lane 25 minutes down from exit 98. Outbound Holland Tunnel 50 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes in. 30 out 15 in at the Lincoln Tunnel, 10 minutes inbound at the George Washington Bridge. And a very heavy ride already both sides of Manhattan, all the way on up to the bridge from about the mid-40s or so. It is very slow to get up to the bridge. There is no easy way. Bloomberg 11:30, 3-day weather. Tonight increasing clouds, low 25. Saturday cloudy skies, high 45 to 50. Sunday showers, breezy, high near 65. Monday more showers, still breezy, high 60 to 65. 37 degrees, sunny in New York. This report is sponsored by Discover. When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover, exceptionally common sense. 37 degrees and sunny with the best ride in and out of the city. I'm Ed Kalegi, Bloomberg 11:30. Bloomberg Business Week continues.
Headlines and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at Bloomberg Quick Take. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash. From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. Down Friday with the S&P 500 lower for the 4th time in 5 days. Losing week as well on the week. The S&P 500 index was down 1.3%. NASDAQ this week particularly hard hit, down this week by 2.8%. So today, stocks fell. The dollar climbed with bonds as concerns that war risks are intensifying roiled global markets. The S&P was down 34 points, down 0.8%. The Dow down 180 points today, down 0.5. NASDAQ down 224, a drop of 1.7%. 10-year yield 1.73%. Gold up 1.7%. 19.69 the ounce. Oil, a major story today. West Texas Intermediate crude oil rallying 6.9%. 115.15 a barrel. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
I want to get back to Jim Hecht. He's co-creator, writer, and executive producer of the HBO series Winning Time. It's going to make its debut on Sunday. He's still with us via Zoom from Los Angeles. So tell us about how the approach in making it, because you could have, I guess, gone a lot of different ways, right? But you've got old footage, new stuff. Like, it's really cool. The actors sometimes talk to the camera. There's so much going on. How did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any actual old footage. It's all just, but it's shot.
It looks like it is, right?
Sort of,
Yeah.
It's shot in period like that, film from that era. So it sometimes has that kind of a look. Look, when I was looking at who's going to do it, one of my favorite movies was 24-Hour Party People, which is, has a lot of talking to camera and stuff like that. And so, the book came out in 2014. It wasn't until 2015 that The Big Short came out. And when I saw The Big Short, I was like, that's it, that's the guy. And he said he was heavily influenced by 24-Hour Party People. But like up until then, if you thought Adam McKay, you thought Anchorman, you thought Ricky Bobby, you thought Step Brothers, like you wouldn't have thought that kind of material. And since then, he's done Vice and Don't Look Up and stuff that's more serious. But I loved his style, and so I immediately thought that's the guy to pull off what I wanted to do.
What was the conversation like with him and making it happen?
It's funny, I have a board across that we took into the pitch that kind of mocks up where the billboards will go on Sunset Boulevard, and it ended up on the exact same building,